You have $23,000 in debt spread across 4 different cards. You go looking for the right way to pay it off, and you find 2 answers, both from people who genuinely know what they're talking about. One tells you to attack the highest interest rate first. It's called the Avalanche method, and mathematically, it's correct. It will save you the most money. The other tells you to attack the smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate. It's called the Snowball method, and mathematically, it's not optimal. Experts will tell you it costs you money. Here's the uncomfortable twist in the story. The mathematically worst method is the one that actually gets most people out of debt, and the mathematically better one is the one most people quietly abandon halfway through and never finish. This isn't a math problem. It never was. It's a psychology problem wearing a math costume. Picture 2 people. Same total debt, $23,000. Same 4 credit cards. Same income. Same starting month. The first person does the math correctly. She ranks her debts by interest rate and attacks the highest one first, a $14,000 balance at 22%, the biggest number on her list. She throws every spare dollar at it. Month 1, the balance barely moves. Month 3, it's still 4 digits away from being anything close to paid off. Month 6, she's paid over $1,000 in extra payments, and the balance still says $11,200. Nothing on her statement looks different enough to notice. She starts to wonder if any of this is even working. By month 9, the extra payments get smaller. By month 11, they stop entirely. The plan wasn't wrong. It just never gave her anything to feel good about. And eventually, feeling nothing beat trying. Now, the second person, same starting point, same $23,000. He ignores interest rates completely and goes after his smallest balance first, an $800 card sitting at a modest 14% rate. Mathematically, the wrong place to start. 6 weeks later, that card is at 0, closed, gone. It's a small number in a $23,000 problem, but it's the first time in years he's actually finished paying something off completely. He takes that $800 minimum payment and rolls it, plus his extra cash, into the next smallest balance, $2,200, sitting at a brutal 26% rate, the actual worst debt on his entire list. 4 months later, that one's gone too. He's not moving faster by the math. He's moving faster because he's still moving at all. Personal finance treats debt like a spreadsheet problem. Your brain treats it like a video game. There's a well-documented psychological principle behind why finishing something, even something small, creates a disproportionate surge of motivation compared to making correct progress on something huge. Researchers who've studied real household debt repayment, rather than theoretical spreadsheets, have found something that surprises most finance professionals. People who use the smallest balance first method are significantly more likely to actually become debt-free at all compared to people optimizing for interest rates. Not because they're worse at math, because closing an account gives your brain a concrete, undeniable proof of progress, a finish line you can actually see cross. The Avalanche method asks you to trust an abstraction. You're told the plan is working, but the evidence, a $14,000 balance that's still 5 figures long, doesn't feel like it's working. You're paying real money every month for a feeling that never quite arrives. The Snowball method gives your brain the one thing an abstraction never can: a receipt, proof, done. This matters because personal finance was never actually a math problem for most people. If it were, budgeting apps and spreadsheets would have solved this decades ago. It's an execution problem, and execution is a psychology problem every time. Let's actually run the math, because the trade-off is real, and it's worth understanding exactly what you're trading. Take that $23,000 across 4 cards, an $800 balance at 14%, a $2,200 balance at 26%, a $6,000 balance at 19%, and a $14,000 balance at 22%. The Avalanche method attacks in this order: The $2,200 card first, then the $14,000 card, then the $6,000 card, and the $800 card last, purely by interest rate, ignoring balance size entirely. The Snowball method attacks in this order: the $800 card first, then the $2,200 card, then the $6,000 card, then the $14,000 card, purely by balance size, ignoring interest rate entirely. Run both plans with the same extra monthly payment, and the Avalanche method typically comes out ahead on total interest paid, often by somewhere in the range of a few $100s, depending on the exact rates and payment amount. That's the entire size of the cost of choosing Snowball, a few $100s in extra interest, on a $23,000 payoff journey that takes years. Now compare that to the other number, the one nobody puts in the spreadsheet. Researchers studying real repayment behavior have found that the completion rate gap between the two methods is far larger than the interest rate gap. People following the Snowball approach are considerably more likely to still be paying down debt month after month than people who started with the mathematically optimal plan and quietly stopped. A few $100s in extra interest is a real cost. Abandoning the plan entirely and staying in debt for years longer than necessary is a catastrophically larger one. The Avalanche method wins the math. The Snowball method wins the outcome, for most people, most of the time. I want to be fair here, because the Avalanche method isn't a trap, and for some people, it's genuinely the better choice. If your interest rates are wildly different, say one card at 29% and the rest under 12%, the Avalanche method savings stop being a few $100s and start being real money, fast, and it deserves to be your priority regardless of balance size. If you're someone who's already proven to yourself that you finish what you start without needing a small win to stay motivated, the psychological benefit of Snowball may simply not apply to you. Some people are genuinely wired for the long, unglamorous grind, and if that's you, take the Avalanche math and don't overthink it. This isn't about one method being universally right, it's about being honest with yourself about which kind of execution risk you're actually managing, the risk of paying more interest or the risk of quitting. Most people, if they're honest, are managing the second one.
To build your own plan, use two filters instead of picking a side blindly. The first is the rate gap test. List every debt with its balance and its interest rate. Look at the spread between your highest and lowest rate. If the gap is large, roughly 10 percentage points or more, the Avalanche method's savings are big enough to matter, and it's worth prioritizing the math. If the gap is small, the cost of ignoring it is genuinely minor, and the psychological case for Snowball gets much stronger. The second is the hybrid filter. If you're not sure which type of person you are, don't guess. Run a small experiment on yourself. Knock out your single smallest debt first, no matter its rate, purely to get one real, completed win on the board. Then switch to the Avalanche method for everything that's left. Highest rate first, all the way through. This gets you the motivational boost right at the start, when you need it most, and the mathematical efficiency for the long middle stretch, when momentum is already carrying you. You don't have to choose a philosophy, you have to choose a method that gets to debt gone. And for most people, this hybrid does both jobs at once. We've been taught to treat personal finance like it's primarily a math discipline, as if the right formula applied correctly automatically produces the right outcome. But money is administered by a person, not a spreadsheet. And people don't abandon plans because the math was wrong. They abandon plans because the plan never gave them anything to hold on to. The real cost of debt was never just the interest rate stacking up in the background. It's the years spent circling the same balances, restarting the same plan, telling yourself next month will be different, because the last plan never gave you a single moment of proof that it was working. Choose the method that keeps you moving, not just the one that looks smartest on paper. A slower plan you actually finish will always beat a faster plan you quietly abandon in month 9. Because debt was never really about the math.
It was about whether you kept going long enough for the math to matter at all. And when you finally close that first account, any balance, any rate, something shifts. You stop being someone who's trying to pay off debt. You become someone who's actually doing it. Because when you finally stop circling the same numbers, your world doesn't get smaller. Your freedom gets larger.